Department of Public Works Subcommittee. We have a roll call, Madam Clerk.
Council Barton.
Present.
Present Council Cahill.
Present.
Present Council Capano. Absent Council Chakutis.
Present.
Present Council Calucci. Absent Council Creighton.
Present.
Present Council Seer. Present Council Ford. Absent Council Lozey.
Present.
Present Council Net.
Present.
Present Council Trahan.
Present.
Present.
Thank you. I'd like to turn the gavel over to the Chairman of the Public Works Committee, Councilor Darren Seer.
Thank you, Dan. It's not normal that the Public Works Committee does this in front of the committee as a whole. So I want to thank everybody for coming here tonight. I'm going to invite Andy, the Fire Chief, Police Chief, and Tom Hines to come sit up here right next to the whipping post. I want to start off by saying right off the bat that this has probably been the toughest month for any city employee, for any mayor or city council, police chief, fire chief, or head of the DPW. With all the efforts that the city employees have made, the plow drivers, people who answer the phones, the department heads, I think everybody's really worked well together. I know not every constituent would agree with that. Mother Nature doesn't always give us, the greatest winters. And I think the only thing good about the month of February this year was that the Patriots won their fourth Super Bowl. With that being said, after talking with Dan and a couple other councilors and Andy Hall, we decided to create a subcommittee of the Public Works Committee. We're going to name 11 people, including myself, to that committee to take a look at. And this past month has really given us the opportunity to do that. Take a look at the way we do our plowing operation in the city of Lynn. And also the way they do it in other communities, see how we can improve on it. The traffic situations or issues that we always have during snowstorms. The type of equipment that we have, that we use out on the roadways. And see how we can all work together to improve on the plowing in the city. With that being said, before I open the meeting, I'm just going to name the people that we're going to be putting on this committee. Councilor Barton and Trahan will be representing the city council. Andy Hall, of course, is the head of the DPW. Peter Caron is the CFO. Kevin Coppinger, police chief. Chief McDonald from the fire department, and Tom Hines. Jamie Sorelli from the mayor's office, who I want to say has been a great help to this point. Stacy Mancelli, representing the seniors in the city. Bob Stillion from parking. We're going to be meeting, and Mike Donovan from ISD, I'm sorry. We're going to be meeting for the next 8 continuous weeks in room 403, 402 at 5:15. And the reason we're only going to do it for 8 weeks is because I do want to put a time frame on it so that we're not wasting anybody's time. I think that's plenty of time to do what we have to do. With that being said, I want to thank the two chiefs for being here, Tom Hines and Andy Hall. Again, I want to say I think they're all doing a great job. I know we have some issues with snowbanks, roads in the city that aren't wide enough for cars to get up and down, but I think they've been working extremely hard to take care of those problems, as well as the pothole situation that has come, and some of the parking issues that are happening, as well as, after talking with some of my fellow councilors, the trash situation. So with that being said, I don't know, I think we're going to open it up with Andy giving us a brief summary as to what he's been doing, what he's going to continue to do, and what the DPW is going to continue to do.
Sure. Thanks, Councilor Sherry. Chairman Sherry. All right, it's been a bit of a blur this past month, so put it on a calendar here, just so I can make sense of it, and maybe you guys can as well. It started back on the 26th of January, into the 27th, the evening of the 27th, where we got 25 inches of snow. And we had contractors plowing for 24 hours straight. The result of that was 3 days of no school, and the budget that we had before us, we exceeded the budget the first few hours of this plow storm. We had been out salting prior to this, but the budget was basically completely spent by a few hours into this first storm. We had the Super Bowl on Sunday, the 1st of February, followed by another 18 inches of snow on Monday the 2nd. We plowed with contractors for 17 hours that storm. We got 18 inches of snow. We were left with 2 days of no school. Then the following Monday, the 9th, we had another 18 inches of snow. We had contractors in plowing for 22 more hours. That was the day, that Monday the 9th, we received the waiver for ocean dumping from the DEP. At the end of that storm, the 10th, we implemented the one-sided parking ban due to narrow streets and lack of access for emergency vehicles. That also netted us 2 days off from school. After that, we had another storm on the 15th, Sunday the 15th. Another 13 inches. This is the day before President's Day. Contractors were on the streets for 9 hours that day. And then, we started hauling snow actually on the 27th. So the night of the first storm, we started hauling snow. And we ramped that operation up on the 11th of February. Which brings us to today, the 24th of February. So for the past 30 days, the DPW has fielded 5,212 snow-related complaints. Of those 5,212 complaints, about 75 remain on the books. A little more with a recent newspaper article, but that's a whole other story. As far as budget goes, the budget before, the budget that was set for us in the beginning of the fiscal year was $785,162. And the actual expended to date is $2,794,876, which is a shortfall of $2,009,714. Back in September 2nd of 2014, the Lynn City Council voted to allow overspending of the snow and ice line item. And I could delve in deeper to what we've spent. We've put down 4,700 tons of salt, 8,500 gallons of calcium chloride, 245 tons of sand. Through our snow hauling efforts, we've cleared 117 intersections and 179 streets. And that's pretty much the nuts and bolts of it, unless you have any questions.
All right, I want to say thank you, Andy, and I'll open it up to questions in a minute. I'm not used to coming up to the chair meeting here, so I should have acknowledged that the mayor was here and asked her if she wants to come up and say anything. If you want to come up, Julie? Miss Mayor, I'm sorry. Come on up. I'm going to turn the mic over to the mayor for a few minutes and let her speak.
Thank you, Councilor. Excuse me. I just want to make sure that the councilors know that the four gentlemen that you have before you this evening have done an extraordinary job under extraordinary circumstances. We have become phone buddies, all of us. We've probably had what do you think, Councilor Barton, about 2025 emergency management conference calls over the course of the past month? And those are just the conference calls. We've also had, you know, I might call the DPW commissioner, DPW might call parking. We have been in constant contact over the past month, and it has all been coordinated by Captain Hines, our emergency management director. But I have to tell you that these 4 agencies, emergency management, fire, police, and DPW, along with parking, along with public health, along with water and sewer, have just done an exceptional job under unprecedented circumstances. So we actually, Jamie and I, are going to be kind of tag teaming on your committee, but I'm very much interested in becoming a part of that committee. We have learned some lessons along the way that I think will be, we've been well served in seeing under these trying times ways that we might be able to improve some of the services, and I for one look forward to discussing some of those new ideas with you and the rest of the committee members in the upcoming weeks. But I just want everybody to know how proud I am, not only of the 4 leaders in front of you, but of all the men and women of the DPW, police department, and fire department, as well as all of the other departments that have pitched in to keep the city running. So with that, go ahead and ask any questions, and if anybody has any questions of me, I'll be sitting watching over the back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. With that, I'm going to open it up to any of the councilors. Councilor Trahan.
Thank you. I'd just like to start out on the mayor pretty, she covered a lot of it, Darren, you covered a lot of it. I know Buzzy's been really involved. I would just like, because I've been out there a lot, because this is what I do for a living. I'd just like to start out by commending Mr. Hall, everybody at DPW, police department, fire department. I see the fire department guys out there the other day. They're shoveling so hard that they're in t-shirts. It's like 10 degrees out there in t-shirts. The guys are sweating because the snow, the fire hydrants are like 4 feet deep in the snow. So I thought it was pretty funny. But for Commissioner Hall, to commit to this job has been there, a few months or whatever, and then just get inundated with the snow that we got. I mean, it was just historical. I mean, the people like you say at home, the people that are naysayers, he did a terrible job, but they did an unbelievable job. He doesn't have a great big crew of men and women, and I see them all the time out there, the same men and women. They go home, they get a couple hours sleep, him included, Lisa Merrick, George Potter, all of them. I mean, they're always there. Every time I went down there, the place, and this is what I was most impressed about Mr. Hall and his new job. He was always under control. The place was always organized. Nobody was yelling and screaming. He greeted you at the desk. What can I do for you? Because he knew you were there to get some help. And I just, I can't wrap it up. It was nice to see Lynn come together, actually. You saw people, building inspectors, you saw people from City Hall driving the trucks, being chasers, doing whatever they can. The police standing out in the cold, blocking streets so we can remove the snow, tow the cars. I mean, it just, it was like the old days. It was actually reminded of the blizzard of '78. Nice to see everybody kind of helping each other and digging out. But Mr. Hall, you did an incredible job. Your staff, today I was there, I saw the girls. I don't know how you do it, take all those calls. They still get smiles on their faces when you come in. I'd be pulling out my hair, but I just wanted to let you know that you did an incredible job. I'm so impressed with you, so thank you.
Any of the other councilors have any questions for Councilor Lozey?
Thank you, Councilor Seer. Thank you, each of you here, and who you represent, all the DPW, police, fire. This was an unprecedented type winter. It wasn't any one storm, as Commissioner Hall outlined. And we have to look at this realistically. There are problems, and I'm glad to see that you're forming this task force to look at it, because we do need to improve upon how this city was plowed. And it's not isolated to the city of Lynn. I work for the state, and I know other communities have had as much difficulty, in some communities even more. But with all that said, I think we do need to tackle how we can do a better job and what we can do to support our agencies so that we can see our streets plowed better. And I think, if I were to be specific, I think that was one of the main problems is that we hear. I'm old enough to remember when the DPW, they used to put garbage trucks out with plows. And those were big, heavy trucks, and they did the job. And today we're seeing convoys of pickup trucks, and many of them are doing a good job. They're working long hours, and unfortunately there are some that aren't. And many of our streets are not being plowed sufficiently. And I just would like to hear from you, Commissioner Hall, what can we do between now and the next thaw, which hopefully not too far away? And is there anything we can do in the event another significant snowfall occurs where we're really going to be in trouble?
Well, I think one of the problems is, well, one of the things that we need to revisit is what we pay the contractors. Because if you sound the alarm that, we're going to hire all the contractors to plow and you're not paying them enough, then they're not going to sign on with you in the spring. They'll go plow PD or Danvers or wherever. So that's one of the things that we're going to need to look at a little closer, is what we pay these people, so that we can get the bigger, heavier trucks. But you're absolutely right. We have an abundance of smaller pickups, which are equipped for 6, 8 inches of snow. But when you get 25 inches of snow, they're just not going to do it, as you can see.
Are there any other questions? Jeff, I just want to say that this is a meeting for the committee as a whole, and it's not really open to the public for them to come up and say anything. If you want, I see Councilor Creighton sitting right in the front there. If you want to whisper something in his ear so he can ask a question for you, then you can do that. Councilor Cahill.
Thank you, Councilor Sarah. And I just want to express my appreciation for you taking the bull by the horns and having a working committee to get some substantive changes and some improvements to the way we do some of our snow removal and emergency communications as well. And obviously, it's the thaw sometimes and the warmth is our worst enemy, because once the warm weather comes, no one wants to talk about snow, they want to talk about trees and other types of amenities. But a couple of PSAs, and really this is the result of my conversation with you recently. The first PSA is, and Commissioner Hall, if you just verify this, if people see the wooden stakes in the snowbanks with the wooden signs that says no parking, am I to assume that that street will be, you're focusing on that area or that street to remove some of the snow piles? So when people see those signs, they really, really, really shouldn't park on the street that night, because they're just going to ruin things for themselves and their own neighbors?
Yes. Yep.
You should say that, right? That'd be microphones, people at home can hear.
If you see the temporary cardboard no parking signs staked into a snowbank near your on-street parking spot, it would make a lot of sense for you to find alternative parking for your car.
We had a problem down Ocean Street where you were prepared to do that the whole of Ocean Street, but because of a few folks who decided they wanted to park in the street that night and ignore the wooden signs, we weren't able to get the entire street done that night. And as a result, I mean, it's as remind everybody, it's dangerous conditions out there. So every day is critical, and as a result, we lost, an ability to clean up an important artery. As we used to, yeah.
That's correct, yes.
The second, and Councilor Seer, if you want to jump in, this is helpful. A lot of questions now, because we drive around, the snow is thawed, the streets are horrible. I mean, it's, for lack of a better example, it's like Beirut in the 80s. The roads have craters in it. People are at night very dangerous because you don't see them sometimes. You drive along them. And I'm just an average person. I don't know street repair. So I was talking to Councilor Sarah. I said, why don't they throw sand in it or rocks in it? to fill in the holes. And of course, then you start to think, well, of course you don't put rocks in it, because then you just create projectiles for people to roll over. And then you said that the sand wouldn't last very long. But talk about, or Andy, about why asphalt's unavailable,
Cold patch.
and why the cold patch issue?
We have much better luck with hot mix asphalt, and the plants that provided weren't running until this week, Monday. We started procuring hot mix and drake it. So we drive to Drake in the morning to fill the machine with hot mix, and then we go out filling bottles.
And does the temperature outside have any impact on when you can fill these bottles?
Yes, and whether they're filled with water, and you're gonna get a lesser job if it's freezing cold out. But, you have to do something because wheels will fall off the cars.
So we just suggest that folks take extra precaution with the driving, be patient with the drivers in front of them. They could be facing a very deep and extreme pothole, and if folks just drive a little bit slower in some of the streets that are worse off than others, it would probably be best in their best interest, also in the best interest of the motorists around them, right?
That's correct. Yeah, as we we kind of triage the worst of the worst potholes, and the bigger ones we get cones and even barrels put in them. And, you go out the next day and the cones will be in pieces spread around the block. It's a challenge to keep the cars out of the bottles.
And with your leadership in releasing an extra $1.5 million in Chapter 90 money that had been held over in 2008, we're going to be able to pave a lot more roads. We're hopeful in the spring and summer and the fall this year.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Cahill. I also want to thank Councilor Cahill for his help in helping with this, setting up this committee and his input. And I also want to mention, who very rarely gets mentioned, is Tara. She's going to be doing the minutes for our meetings for the next 8 weeks, and I know she's looking forward to spending her dinner hour with us, because Tuesday night's the late night, or she's usually going home, so I want to say thanks, Tara. Any other questions?
Just how are the other departments doing financially with this? Chief, you're up on chief police.
As far as the police department is concerned, we spent about $18,000 as of last Sunday. We're continuing to do it. We're hiring extra officers almost on a 24-hour basis to supplement the DPW's snow removal operations, whatever that may be, maybe 4 or 5 officers. And when we're available, we just take those off to division if we have extra bodies assigned that aren't on a regular route, so we're trying to control that. Our biggest problem right now is the parking. It's getting better, especially where the DPW goes in and scrapes the streets back to line them up. But we know we have the one side of the street parking ban in place, and it does work. It's tough to enforce universally across the city, so we have to use discretion there. And unfortunately, sometimes this brings out the worst in some people, although I will say that the vast majority of our citizens have been very, very cooperative. But you get the neighborhood calls where someone's upset someone's car's parked in a different way, so we do spend a lot of time responding to those calls, trying to resolve them without issuing a ticket, get people to voluntarily comply, but it doesn't always work that way. We responded to over 1,200 complaints just about motor vehicles in the last month, as compared to 267 last year in the same 4-week period. But it's going good, and the only thing I want to say from the police perspective is just to ask the public to be patient. As many of you have said this evening, that this is kind of a very unusual event. Maybe it's a once-in-a-lifetime event to have this much snow in such a small period of time, short period of time, and people's nerves are frayed. It's gotten better over the last few weeks. I think people are finally accepting the fact that you got to leave, half an hour earlier, especially when school is coming or going, and it just takes time. You can balance still some of the side streets. Even if you remove all the snow, at least do something, it is still tough to pass if somebody else is coming the same way. So much of the public's cooperation that we can get moving forward until the spring comes, that'll make all our jobs much easier.
Thank you, Chief.
On the fire side, we've spent a considerable amount of money in overtime. What I had to do, what we've done in the past for storms, is to maximum man all the apparatus in the city, especially for medical aids, because the snowbanks are just insurmountable to carry a patient out of. So we make sure that all the companies have at least 4 men on it, and the ambulance itself has 3, which they normally only have 2. So we're still doing that at this point. All the companies are manned at 4. The ambulance has 3, and to date, through that period, we spent about $109,000 in overtime money. So some of that money came from an influx of money from a grant that carried over from last year, and we were able to put that in our payroll line. And the hope was to get us through to July with that money. So most of it has been expended just on these last 5 weeks. So in about 2 or 3 months, we're going to be scraping. So aside from that, in the past, when we've had events like this, we've been very, very busy fire-wise. I can tell you that in the 6 weeks through these storms, we've had 1 month of on fire. It's the first time in my career through the winter that we haven't been busy fire-wise. So we kind of dodged a pretty good bullet there, and we were able to just control the normal daily runs with the manpower we've had. So we've done a pretty good job with that. And we hope. Kevin mentioned that it's a once in a lifetime. I hope it's a once in a career for me. I hope this is the last one I have to see. But it was, like Brendan said, like the blizzard of '78, like we've experienced. So. But we're doing pretty good. But I'll pass it along to the emergency manager because he's got problems.
Well, my budget is significantly smaller. Particular line item is the overtime budget, emergency management account. That line item was $7,000 at the beginning of the year, and as of the storm, when it first started snowing, I've spent $6,000 of that overtime in the last 5 weeks for those storms. And that was for staffing the emergency operations center during the first storm, and also since most of the operations are on weekends, these storms like Sunday, Monday, and holidays. So we use that as well to move shelter equipment. We pre-position shelter equipment should we need to open a shelter, so I've spent some money on that as well. So that's where I am on that budget. So I'm negative $1,300 in that account right now. Any questions?
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to pass along a question to you from a member of the audience. In terms of the commission's makeup, it was requested that you consider adding someone from the school department, perhaps someone with many years of experience to contribute to the commission. Again, passing along this from the audience.
Well, if I may respond to that.
Tell them what I gave for example, someone who's been around a long time, the name I gave, please.
Thanks, Jeff. Mike Donovan, who works in the ISD, he oversees the snow removal in the schoolyards and tries to make sure that they're all open. He's kind of there to represent the school department, understandably, and you know, we all look at this, I think everybody here at this table, the safety of our kids going to school is probably the most important thing, and we want to make sure that not only the roadways, but the sidewalks are cleared, and that's why the ISD is involved, as well as the head of the DPW, because he's in charge of the roads. So, I don't know if I cut you off.
I'm going to go along a little bit. I was just going to say, I know I'm not supposed to, but I had recommended someone like Mrs. Crane, who's been around a long time, that it might be, you know, I don't know if that's affordable, but
Well,
if they could, Mrs. Crane would have been wonderful, but
thank-
it's not affordable. That's
Jeff, we will consider that.
I know we will. Listen, God bless you all and have a good one, okay?
Thank you, Jeff.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I know it'll be considered a very, very good thought mechanism for the future.
Thank you. Are there any other questions by any other councilors?
Yeah,
Okay,
just
Council Bud.
And this question is to you or anybody else who wants to take it. How do we get money back into the emergency management?
That's something that the subcommittee will have to take a look at. We'll be working along with the mayor, and our recommendations will be made. And that's why I think it makes sense to put a time frame on it in 8 weeks, which gives us plenty of time before the budget hearings are due and everything, so. Any other questions? I just want to, because this is in a public setting, and I want to say to everybody that a lot of elderly seniors more or less been shut-ins for the last 30 days. And unfortunately, they're overlooked a lot of times. So if a senior happens to be your neighbor and you haven't seen them out in the last week or two, I'm just asking that you check on them, see if they need anything. They may need groceries. And I know there's been a few instances where we've had to assist some seniors with getting oil in their tanks so they can have heat. So I don't know if any of the other councils want to add to that, but I want to thank the mayor for being here, all the department heads, Andy Hall, and the councilors. What's the wish of the committee?
Second.
All those in favor?